And welcome back, everyone, to Pokemon Team Creation Series from Mystics the Devil or Demon or Mystics the Devon. We have what is I'm gonna sound more like Mr. Smithers. Turner. What is my Pokemon team from Mr. Crocker from the Fairly Odd Parents? Look, I think his team is actually kind of straightforward in terms of what you're looking for from a design perspective. What I mean by that is it's clearly an anti-fairy team. He has obsession with fairies, in this case, in his world, to be fairy Pokemon. And honestly, I could totally see up until Gen 6, him just trying to convince everyone, fairies! Like, just trying to convince a fairy Pokemon exists, and then finally like, goes to Kalos, fairies exist! Yeah, we know. They've been around forever. No, Pokemon even like, yo, fairy? Yeah, that's actual fairies. What? It just breaks. But until then, and now he goes on a crusade to just take fairies, and somehow he fails. So I believe it's almost a full anti-fairy team. But I also don't think he has necessarily the strongest Mon. I don't think necessarily he has weak Mon, and some Mon on this team are actually quite strong. But right again, I think he's like, his mindset is, I have to be prepared to take fairies in everywhere, land, air, or sea. Quillfish will be my first Pokemon. And yeah, I mean, Quillfish is a okay early type Pokemon. Now, I could have gone Hisui and Quillfish. I could have, and he could have gotten Overquill. But, I don't know, something about it just didn't feel right. So, no. But, beyond that, though, he's also a teacher. So, along with poison types, the only area weakness of Fairy is Steel. So, I went with Metang. Now, this is one of the things I said that he wouldn't necessarily have fully evolved or the best Pokemon, at least not completely. Metagross, too smart of a Pokemon for him to have on his team. But Metang, a teacher's aide, highly intelligent, and still got some moves to it, I could see that. One other defining trait of him, though, is his pretty codependent, toxic relationship with his mother. No, that's not good. And unfortunately, the only motherly Pokemon I can think of is Kangaskhan. There are a couple of other options, to be fair. You could have gone maybe like a Chansey, perhaps like a Milk Tank, but no, I think Kangaskhan still fits the bill when it comes to something like that. But back to Poison and Steel types. He also drives a relatively not great car. So why not go with the only Poison Steel type we have, Double Trouble, Revavroom. That I think makes complete sense. A dangerous combination to be sure. Beyond that, though, he'd want to trap Pokemon too, trap fairies too. Either bind them or drain their life force. So I think one of his aces, secret aces, is, if it will show up over here, is Ferrothorn. One I haven't used in the team before, but Ferrothorn, I think, between Leech Seed, Ingrain, Spikes, is a secretly very powerful Pokemon. It's durable as hell. It's even got good attack stats, at least in physical attack, I think, or is it special attack? Either way, it's just slow as hell, which makes sense. With that said, though, there's still his ace. Now, his ace is a little trickier for me to pinpoint at first, going through like poison types. And based on what we have here, it had to be another poison type. He's got 3 steel, he's got 2 poison. It needed to be a poison type. But there have been rare occasions where he's actually managed to catch fairies, where he has actually taken control and used their power for his own gain. Now, this Pokemon doesn't quite work that way, but the fact that it is able to put Pokemon under its influence does still work in that comparison. Pecharon. It is in the story that the 3 heroes, I can't remember exactly what they're called, Pheasantipity, Munkidori, and Okidogi, were influenced by Pecharunt, and so are other people. The toxic chain ability makes sense, chaining other Pokemon to your whim. So I think this makes actually for a good ace for Mr. Crocker. Now, what does this mean for the actual team as a whole? Well, it's okay. The weaknesses: 3 times weak to Psychic because you got 3 poison types on the team. Can't do anything about that. Times 4 weakness to ground because of both steel and poison being times weak to ground. The only exception is Ferrothorn's grass type makes it neutral, whereas water, oddly enough, which is strong against ground, is not neutral or is not resistant to ground. But regardless, Then you have ×2 weak to ghost because you have one psychic and and one poison type who actually no, hold on. This should be a ×3 weak to psychic. My bad. No, I already talked about ×3 weak to psychic. What have I I said ×3 weak to psychic, the poison, and the I'm talking about ghost. Duh. Sorry about that. Where did I get ×2 weak to ghost? Oh, because Petron's a ghost. There we are. We're all caught up now. And Matang, obviously. ×2 weak to fire. Surprisingly, fire? Wait, no, that's gonna be a ×3 weeks to fire. Where the hell did I only get ×2? Yeah, no, it's ×3 weeks to fire. I'm not sure where that came from. But ×2 weakness against fighting. That one was a bit more clear because of Kangaskhan and Ferrothorn. Now, that being said, it is ×4 strong against rock types, which is good. Only Kangaskhan and Petron don't have any real strength there. ×2 strong against ground. I mean, that's because grass and water certainly helps there. ×2 strong against grass, which are 3 poison types. ×5 strength against fairy. Makes sense. And a ×3 strength against ice, which are 3 steel types. So that's something at least. But in the general scheme of things, can you be champion anywhere? Long answer is not really. Short answer is not really. Long answer is a bit more complicated. The only region where you actually could maybe become the champion is in Kanto. Honestly, you are not going to run into your first roadblock until you get to Sabrina, and then you will have a problem with Sabrina. Not like it's going to be the end of the road type problem, but Alakazam beats everything you have on this team. So that ×3 weakness you have is going to become a problem. But you do have Ferrothorn and Matang and Kangaskhan. Plus you have the ghost typing to help you out with Petron. So if Petron can survive an attack from Alakazam, you could still take the win. It's just not going to be easy. After that, though, Blaine is a problem. You have a ×3 weakness to fire. The only real advantage you have is Quillfish, and those stats aren't that great. Fortunately, Blaine's not all that powerful in most cases for when you meet him. His team's usually not that good. And Petra, again, has mythical, so that at least helps you out, but it still would not be a cakewalk. It would not be easy. But Giovanni's no problem. Honestly, Lorelei, Bruno, no problems really. Agatha, though, will be a problem. Because she's out, I mean, it says ghost type, but she's a poison type trainer. And while her poison moves aren't going to do much against half your team, you actually don't have much to do, against poison on this team. There's not much you can do. You don't have a ground type, and your one psychic type is just a Matang, which will eventually go down to the ghost types on the team. Not impossible, like I said, but certainly not easy. Then you got to deal with Lance. As much as this team is good against Fairy, it's not great against Dragon. Yeah, the steel type resists Dragon, but there's plenty of other mon on the team that could cause problems for you. It's not impossible, thankfully. Again, thanks to the durability of steel, particularly Revavroom and Ferrothorn probably putting some work in. And again, you have an Ace and Petron still. It comes down to blue. Pidgeot, that will probably go down pretty quick. You may have to swap in with like Matang or something like that. He'll bring in Alakazam. Matang's probably going to have to go down. Then you're going to have to probably bring out Petron again. Hopefully you bring that down. And if you can bring down the Alakazam, which would probably be one of your biggest problems here, you might stand a shot. You could take down Rhydon without too much difficulty. Whatever the water type is, it won't be that problematic. Honestly, your biggest issue is going to be whatever the fire type is. Arcanine and Charizard are both going to be heavy hitters against this team. Is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? I'd lean towards the no side of that, but Then in Johto, I'm going to tell you right now, you couldn't beat Lance even if you could get to him. 3 Dragonites plus a Charizard, then a Gyarados and an Aerodactyl. You're not in a good way against Lance. But you wouldn't get past, frankly, Morty. At best, you're not, because you'll still have Varoom. You're not even going to have Revavroom at that point. And Ghost resists poison. And most of his team, unless you're playing Crystal, is just poison. It's just, poison ghost types anyway. Yeah, you have Quillfish. You do have Matang, but Matang's weak to ghost, so it's not going to do much. And you probably want, except for maybe a Bite, You're not going to have much on Kangaskhan that can do anything. So you're kind of stuck at Morty. Even if you did get past Morty, you'd then be stuck at Chuck. Just because even with Matang on the field, you're still, or the team, you still got to deal with two fighting types that are going to hurt a lot against this team. And then you got to deal with Jasmine, who's a steel trainer, which just seems no good against steel at all. You would have no problem with Price, but then Claire is going to be, it's going to be stonewall. You're going to be stonewalled against Claire. So, yeah, I don't see you making it through Johto, nor do I see you making it through Hoenn. You're stopped at Flannery. Straight out, you're just stopped at Flannery. You will have a Matang. Great. It's Fire Gym, though. Whoop-de-doo. You only have a Varoom, which sucks. Quillfish does not have the stats for a water type to go up against a gym like that. Torkoal's way beefier. And Kangaskhan is only going to put in so much work. So, yeah, you're kind of effed. Even if you could get all the way to Steven, he's a steel-type trainer, and this team is actually not good against steel. So, right out the gate, no. Yeah, Sinnoh's weird because it depends on which game you're playing, but you're usually stopping at Fantina. If it's Platinum, you're definitely stopping at Fantina. You have no argument there. Just not a good team against the Ghost team at that point. If you're playing Pearl or Diamond, you might actually stop at Crash or Wake. If I'm going to be flat out honest. Because you just don't have good answers for his team. Yeah, Kangaskhan is bulky. It can do some work, but against that Gyarados, without that Varoom being involved in something better, you're just not in a good way. And then Cynthia, frankly, you would not be able to take Cynthia on. I mean, just taking down her first Spiritomb is going to be nightmarish in and of itself. You're going to lose a lot of Pokemon just doing that. Let's see. And then Sinnoh, you honestly in both games you can't get past Elise simply because her Zebstrika has Flame Charge on it, and half your team is straight out weak to fire, straight out, and then one of the remaining two Mon are weak to electric, which is what that gym is. And Kangaskhan is not beating that entire gym on its own. Now that being said, could you beat either champion? No. Iris's Hydreigon alone would wipe the floor with this team. Or at the very minimum, take the giant bulk of it down. And Alder, all he has to do is bring out Volcarona and you're effed. So, yeah, no good there. What about in Kalos? Kalos, you're going to immediately struggle with Karina. Just because, yeah, you'll have Matang on the field. And Quillfish does resist fighting, but that is not a guarantee for wins. Kangaskhan goes down immediately. You might be resistant, but the only thing you really have to your advantage at that time is the psychic moves, at least Confusion. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's not likely. And even then, you're going to have to deal with, I believe it's Luminia or Olympia. Sorry, Olympia. The psychic type gym leader, which you're already going to be in a disadvantage against. You're going to have to bring out Petron and hope it doesn't go down. And then you're going to have to deal with two Elite Four members who have a type either advantage or just resistance to you with Wilkstrom and Fava with fire typing. And then even if you do get to Diantha, her entire team, frankly, can muscle its way past you. Hawlucha alone can really do a number on this team. You might not think it because of the flying and the resistance to fighting, but because it has Poison Jab, X Scissor, and Swords Dance, you want to get Matang out there as quick as possible because otherwise this thing could be a problem. Even still, that thing's going down. She's bringing out the Tyrantrum, which has a huge physical stat. Like, its physical stat is going to be nightmarish. Not to mention Aurorus. Now, Aurorus you can take down with no problem, but then Goodra comes out. It's going to be tanky. At that point, you're probably down half your team. Not to mention Gourgeist, which is going to have ghost-type moves to deal with Pecharunt. And then you're going to have Mega Gardevoir, who, yes, is a fairy type. So you will finally be up against the fairy. But at that point, who are you going to have left? Ferrothorn and Revavroom? And keep in mind, she still has Psychic on that thing. So Revavroom's no good. Even if you've got Pecharunt, it's a poison type. And Ghost doesn't resist Psychic. So, not good. Galar, you're stopped at the third gym. The fire gym would make mincemeat of those three. Even with Quillfish resisting and having water moves, it just doesn't have the stats. Even if you could get the Leon, freaking Dragapult is going to sweep this team. It has both Thunderbolt and Flamethrower. Not to mention Shadow Ball. It literally has nearly his entire, except for Kangaskhan, has this entire team covered. And then finally, Paldea. Honestly, you could get to the Elite Four. I don't think any one trainer or gym leader is going to completely stop you. But you would immediately have problems with Rika. Because except for Quillfish, you have no good answer for ground. And if you have no good answer for ground, you have a times 4 weakness that you might just be done right then and there. Fairthorn can stall out for a bit, though, thanks to the grass typing. But stall out does not mean or guarantee victory. And another fact, she's got a camera up on the team, which can then just clear a bunch of these other guys. So I think you might just straight out stop with Rika. Even if you don't stop at Rika, you then got to deal with Poppy. And you want to talk about typing this team is not designed to go up against. It's designed for fairies. It's not designed to go up against steel types. So, yeah. Honestly, I don't think you get past either Rika or Poppy. Even if you get past Rika, which I don't think you do, I don't think you get past Poppy. Overall, though, is Mr. Crocker's team designed to be a champion team? No, none of these teams are ever designed to be champion teams. I am insulted you think so. But, no, legitimately, though, no, it's fine. But that's never the point. The point is to try to make the best team that fits the character. I think this is a pretty good team. I could definitely see, though, at least the first two interchanging with something else. But I wouldn't give him like a fully evolved, like Metagross or something like that. I'd give him a Pokemon that is a steel or poison type that is good, that would represent a good teaching type of Pokemon. And I would give him a mid-level poison as his kind of starting Pokemon. Either way, though, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.